Second chance, double book.
If you would stop having fun, I'm ready for you to listen to me. I'm Jim Abbott, I'm the athletic director. Those of you who are happy to have you here. This is our final luncheon of the year. Some of you may have come in March for our luncheon. I came for our luncheon in March and found out that someone was already in our room and we didn't have lunch. So for those few of you who came and sent me a nasty email, and it was honestly beyond my control. Not having that luncheon meant that we didn't get to celebrate a few things, and so we want to celebrate some of those things today. But before we go any further, we always sort of have our students introduce themselves at the start of lunch. So if you're an OCU student athlete, please stand up and let's have you introduce yourself. Everybody's looking around like they didn't know they had to do this. Let's just get your name and your sport, your major, and your year in school. Jamie, go.
I'm Jamie. I'm a volleyball player.
Hold on. When you introduce yourself, tell them your full name.
Oh, no.
Jamie, you have to have a last name. Yeah.
I have a hyphenated first name. My name is Jamie Ray Renwick. I play volleyball at OCU. I'm a junior. And I'm a psychology major. Thank you.
All right.
I'm Caitlin Leonard. I am a senior nursing major, and I'm cheerleading. My name is Casey Romine. I am a senior nursing major as well, and I'm also a cheerleader. I'm from Glen Allen, Virginia. I'm Rachel Ashwood. I'm a junior nursing major. I'm from Chandler, Oklahoma, and I'm on.
I'm Monica Diama. I'm an elementary education major. I'm a wrestler and I'm from Akron, California. And I'm a freshman.
I'm Colton Parker. I'm a freshman in college. My major is accounting, and I'm from Pima, Oklahoma, and I wrestle.
All right. Thank you guys very much. I like for you to meet our students, but it's just as fun for me to watch them try to remember what exactly it was. Caitlin actually looked at me like I knew the answers. So as we come to lunch in March, we would have celebrated another national championship. Our women's basketball team, you might remember a year ago, we won our 5 games during the championship by a total of 12 points. Every game was quite close. This year, we pulled out to a big lead in our first game. Our opponent came all the way back to tie us, and we won it by making 2 free throws with 0.3 seconds left in the game. We kind of learned from that. We had a couple other moments where we let teams sort of catch back up to us, but ultimately, we won it the way you want to win it. There was little doubt. So, Coach Trammell, would you stand up so that we can recognize you? Yvonne Neal, a senior from Spring Valley, California, was the most valuable player in the tournament. She played really well. Coach Trammell, once again this year, is recognized as the National Coach of the Year. So we're really proud. You may know that we let Phil McSpadden speak once every couple of years here. Phil doesn't like to speak, and he proves his dislike for speaking by saying who knows what when he gets up here. But not quite a week ago, 6 days ago, 5 days ago, Phil McSpadden became the winningest 4-year college softball coach in the country. He won his 1,458th game. And what's really cool about it, first of all, think about it. I mean, I sent a tweet out, and the tweet was, if you won 2 games every day for 728 days in a row, you would still be 2 wins behind Phil McSpadden. The fact is, we've won 4 more games since he set that record. So the shirts that we created said 1458 and counting, and we're counting. Phil's not here today. We're actually playing today, so he didn't just sneak away. But it's worth giving him a round of applause as well. pretty good, unless your softball coach had won 160 games, more than that. But we're one game away from our baseball coach, Denny Crayball, when he just won that. JR kind of mentioned this to me earlier. Phil and Denny, they have won all of these games at OCU. So I'm pretty good with math. That's almost 1,800 wins. Brian Harvey, his record in history and soccer at OCU. Kyle Blazer's record with men's golf. If you want to be a pretty good AD, surround yourself with folks like that. They've done quite a job for us, and we're very proud of them. Just a couple of other things. We had the Sports Spectacular. I've done this 13 years, and you just forget how challenging the spring is. Spring is so busy, and so for some of you came to the Sports Spectacular. It's a fundraising event, a dinner, an auction that we do, and if we had our druthers, we probably wouldn't do it. It's a lot of work and pretty stressful, but it's quite lucrative. We had about 520 people show up. Billy Tubbs was our honoree. Coach Tubbs is fabulous. And we raised about $130,000 for our athletic department. So many of you helped in a variety of ways. We're very grateful. And then one final little spotlight that I want to shine, and we'll get our updates for today. For I don't know how many years, but many years, Lois Lyon has been a servant of Oklahoma City University. She has been a great friend of our athletic department. I talked about the Sports Spectacular. Lois, several years ago, created a quilt that we auction off, and I'm sorry that I don't know the total, but I bet we've raised $10,000 over the years. Just 13,000. Don't sell me short, she says. But merely because she listened and saw our need and had an idea and followed through with it. That's just a tiny little bit of what she's done both for our university and our athletic department. So Lois, would you stand so that we can thank you? I told Lois, she told me she was retiring, and I said, you can't retire. And among the things I think she said to me was, I'm old enough to be your mother. And that didn't mean much to me, other than she was trying to put me in my place. And so she's going to do what she damn well wants to do. You've been great for us, and we really appreciate you. Okay.
Don't you have one more in the bag for next year?
Yeah. I've got it. She works in advance. Okay. So we're going to have 2 or 3 sport updates here. I didn't mention other accomplishments that we would have recognized in March, because I'm going to ask Archie Randall if he might come up. But obviously we had our men's and women's wrestling championships at the 1st of March. So let's get a quick little recap and update from our wrestling coach, Archie Randall. Almost going to let you do it from there, Archie.
Huh?
I'm almost going to let you do it from there.
Well, I wasn't going to walk up there. That's all right. It's good.
First of all, I'd like my assistant coach, which has been a real asset to me this year. He's going to introduce a special guest that we have here. Go ahead, Coach.
We've got a recruit with us today from Putnam City North. Evan Hudson was a state finalist this year. And, his parents are also OCU alum. Probably goes to school here currently.
I don't know if I talked about the women's team the last time I was supposed to speak, but the girls finished 3rd this year by a point. It really wasn't a disappointing season for us. I think it was just a miracle that we did that well. We had 4 girls that blew their ACLs during the season and 2 that had shoulder surgeries. So we lost 4 All-Americans before the national tournament. 2 of them tried to wrestle through it. Emily Webster, which is a 4-time national champ, undefeated. She did a really great job. Denny Stroop, her injury was too close to the national tournament. She didn't do very well. But we did have 8 All-Americans, and we returned 14 starters next year, and we've already signed 14 girls to our new recruiting class, and on that 14 girls, I think there's 4 national champions in there. Plus, we signed the #1 girl in the nation, which is Becca Leathers from Choctaw, and the #2 girl in the nation, which is Marissa Barraza from Washington. So we have the 1-2 girl, which is pretty good. So we're looking for a good season out of them. And we had 10?
9.
Thank you, Rich. We had 9. Mr. Abbott told me 2 minutes ago that I'm speaking, so I'm kind of like, I don't have my notes.
Let's do what everybody else does and make up a number.
Let's just look at Rich and stuff like that. But we're looking to repeat next year. We really feel confident next year that our girls team will repeat. It's been a couple of years since we won it. We keep losing by 1 or 2 points, so I think we'll make up for it this time around if the girls repeat. The men's team, on the other hand, I'm really excited about. We're a very young team. See, he's giving me the signal. Thanks, Rich. I got that one, though. The men's team I'm really excited about. They're a really young team. We had 2 seniors that graduated. This year we had 7 qualifiers. We had 5 All-Americans, 1 national champion runner-up, and our national champion sophomore. We finished 5th at the tournament. 1 placement any place. One somebody finishes 3rd and 5th, we jump up to 1-2. We figure that we'll probably come out next year ranked in the top 3. We're going to bring out 3 red shirts. We're inserting our lineup. We have 6 of the returners back. We returned 20 wrestlers total from last year. We returned 20 wrestlers, and we have 14 kids coming in. The kids that are coming in right now, we have no one that's not a state finalist in whatever state they're from. So the men's team and the women's team, both teams are pretty loaded. So we're basically going to go after everybody next year. That's our goal, is go after everybody. The guys team, the girls team, we don't care who we wrestle. We're going after everybody we can. We feel real confident we're going to be very successful next year. It's going to be exciting to watch the programs next year. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, sir.
Do we have any women's wrestling teams out there now?
Okay, for history for you, when OCU started our program 8 years ago, there were 6 college wrestling programs, period. Now there's 30. NAI right now has 18, 19. As soon as we get to 25, we'll hit the emerging sport status and separate from the WCWA. The majority of the new programs coming in are NAI schools. NAI schools, and it just keeps growing and growing. It grows by 4 or 5 colleges a year, which is pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. Anything else? Thank you very much.
I just spent the last 5 days at the NAI convention, and it's interesting, Paul, because I get a lot of questions about cheer and dance, and a lot of questions about women's wrestling. We're pretty proud of the fact that we were leaders in this initiative. We're going to get an update next on rowing. Well, we were leaders in rowing as well, and the growth that we see in our state in water sports in particular, I think we've contributed quite a bit to it. So it's to go from 6 to 30 is great. It also means there's a lot more competition. So it's a little challenging, but I think we remain the school that provides the best education and gives women the opportunity to wrestling. So to participate in wrestling, that's an advantage for us. So we had a little meeting earlier today, and I looked at our rowing coaches and said, hey, why don't we get an update today? And they agreed to do it, but they wanted to do it together. So we're going to get an update on rowing from Liza Dixon and Cam Brown.
Long time listener, first time speaker. The rowing season at the moment is going along really well. The last couple of years there's been a lot of energy and momentum, and it's really been an exciting time to see the program just develop. And we have some pretty lofty goals this year. as Jim mentioned, there's not really any other NAIA schools that do rowing, so we kind of compete against all the NCAA schools. And our goal this year on the men's side is we're looking to crack the top 20 in NCAA, which is a pretty lofty goal, but we're feeling somewhat optimistic and pretty confident that we can try to get there this year. Our pre-season, we've had a couple of races so far, and we had Jacksonville University come out and race us a couple of weeks ago. And traditionally we've been kind of trading pieces with them. We'll win one race, they'll win the next race. And we beat them by 20 seconds a couple of weeks ago, and then we beat them a couple of hours later by 20 seconds again. So that was a nice kind of start to this season for us. And then we backed it up by going to Georgia a couple of weeks ago. And we raced a few different events, and in every event the men's team won every race by 10 seconds or more. So it was really just a really nice start to the season. The guys are really confident. Tomorrow we head to Tennessee. We have our regional championship in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and it's the first chance to really get tested and really see exactly how good we are. Virginia is always the big competition there, and Florida Tech and Temple University, kind of rowing powerhouses. And our best result was last year. We got 7th, and we're somewhat optimistic that we might be able to get into the medals this year. So after the weekend, we'll be tested. We'll have a pretty good idea of where we're at, and hopefully we can keep everything going and qualify for the nationals in May and go up against the big boys. So that's the men's side.
It is pretty exciting because both our men's and women's team are on the rise at the same time. As many of you know, we've had a small boat program for many years producing national champions. But to have 2 very fast 8s, men's 8 and women's 8, is a first for OCU. And we are definitely making a statement nationally. I think you forgot to mention we cleaned up at the last regatta, and John Hunter, that was, the men won both their races, the women won the women's varsity 8, and we got 2nd in the JV, but it was our novice boat racing up. So they raced against much faster people. So that was sort of our early season. And I think we expected to do well there, but I think the girls, were a little bit surprised they did so well. So it was a confidence builder for them, but also a big learning experience. We had a lot more to work on. We're going into Sierras. Last year we were 9th. I think we'll probably be seeded 4th or 5th. We will be the first team that's not a Division I team probably in the seeding. So it'll be about 4 Division Is or 3 Division Is and us, which is kind of fast company to keep. They have a lot to prove this weekend. They're very excited to prove that and see how fast they can go. We'll head to Dad Gales in a couple weeks. Liz Matthews will defend her national title. Kayla Race-Buger will try and go right behind her or take her down. So we have 2 great shots at a national championship in the single. And then we're going out to California, so are the men. And we're actually going to line up next to the #1 lightweight women's program in the country, which is Stanford at the moment. We are not a lightweight women's boat. That is boat average under 130 pounds. But that's the program we're working to develop here. We're looking to have a full lightweight women's rowing program. It's an event that is non-NCAA, so we can win a national championship in an 8. So the first step is to race the best people. So we're going to go line up next to them with my not-so-lightweight boat and see if we can hold our own and maybe turn some heads, get some recruiting going, and start a bid for a national championship in the lightweight women's 8 over the next few years. So that's where the women stand right now. Thank you very much.
All right, we answered everything. I just have to think there are questions. You know, there's so much inside information in sports. And I've been around rowing long enough and cheer and dance and wrestling to sort of know some of the insides. But she talked about novice, she talked about lightweight, and then I'm glad you defined what lightweight is. There's an awful lot going on, an awful lot of strategy, and Liza and Cam and Mike do a great job with our rowing programs. We tend to celebrate rowing in the fall when we have our large regatta, But rowing, like many of our sports, is a year-round endeavor. And they and the young men and women who participate on those teams represent us very well. So we wondered, how can we end our year of reports with a bang, and who should get the honor to give the last report of the year? And it was very difficult. We've had so many great things going on. Then we remembered that heading into the final hole of the Women's Golf National Championship last year, we trailed by 2 shots, had 1 player left. She had to eagle that hole or our season was over. And what did she do? She eagled the hole. We went to extra holes and it wasn't even close after that. We just beat them like they stole something. And so we decided the last report of the year ought to be about women's golf. And would you welcome our head coach, Marty McCullough.
Good afternoon. Listening to the rowing report and not knowing a lot about rowing, and you talking about the boats going fast, it's really interesting because my team the last few years has been kind of a slow boat the entire season. And you sit there as a coach and you hope that's not indicative of how they're going to finish the race. And the last 2 years, they've really surprised me and turned it on into the season. We've had the same thing this year. Currently, we're ranked number 4 in both the coaches poll and in the computer poll. I think it's a good spot. It's about where we were this time last year. Our scoring average this year is actually better than it was with last year's national championship team. But like I said, I keep going back to the fact that at some point you want to see them succeed. And we finally did that last week. We won Oklahoma Baptist tournament for our first win of the year. It's been kind of a rough year where we've played poor golf, but it hasn't been really bad golf. So if the good golf comes at the end of the year, that's what we're looking for. And that's kind of where we're trending upward right now. We have 3 girls ranked in the top 20 in the country, which would put them somewhere close to being the first team All-American at the end of the year if we take care of business. We have our conference tournament this coming Monday, Tuesday at Twin Hills Golf and Country Club here in Oklahoma City. So we'd love to see friendly faces if anybody wants to stop by. We're playing, the guys are playing also, they're playing 36 holes on Monday. The girls are just playing 18. And then we'll both have our final rounds on Tuesday, teeing off starting at 8 a.m. Monday and 7:30 a.m. Tuesday. So if anybody would like to stop by and give a friendly hello, that would be helpful for us. It's always nice to have people stop by and watch the kids play. And for our conference, we have 3 teams ranked in the top 10, so it will be a shootout for us. We're currently 4th, like I said. Texas Wesleyan is ranked 9th, and Wayland Baptist is ranked 10th, along with Oklahoma Baptist ranked 25th. So we have 5 teams playing in our conference championship and 4 of them in the top 25. So it ought to be a lot of fun and a great competition for us. Anybody have any questions? Thank you.
What were your feelings last year coming down the last hole when Elliott made that eagle?
Well, other than you texting me and asking me what was going on with the live scoring, it was a very magical thing that happened, and it's one of those things where you go in the last hole and you're down by, I believe we were down 6 shots going in the last hole, and with 4 scores counting, that's nearly impossible to make up. And whenever I coach the girls, I try to coach them before the round to get prepared for it and let them do their own thing when they play. So I was just sitting on the side of the hill watching them come in. I was like, well, we picked up 2 there. Okay, we picked up another one there. And then everybody knew she had to make the putt for eagle in the last hole. It was about a 15-footer, and she walked up there like she'd done it a million times and just knocked it in. So anybody that watched the Masters and watched Jordan Spieth's performance this weekend, hers was every bit as impressive as that. Thank you.
I think it's worth mentioning that we will have live scoring next week.
Yes, we will have live scoring for the conference tournament, both men's and women, at golfstat.com. So you can, if you aren't able to come out and watch, you can sit at your desk and watch that all day and enjoy the updates every 3 holes. Hopefully they'll be good updates. Thank you.
Okay, we're ready for door prizes. Just a couple of other announcements. The Jim Wade Awards banquet is coming up a week from this Sunday. It's Sunday, April 26th. If you've been to that in the past, you know that we've had sort of a banquet in the arena And we're getting away from that this year. We're moving this event to the theater on campus, so we can have more. So we're not going to feed you, but we're not going to charge you for food either. So it kind of works out that way. But that's going to start at 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock, Kelly? Sunday, April 26th. It has to start at 12. We have this like window between theater events. And they were willing to let us sneak in there, but anyway, Sunday, April 26th. I do encourage you to come to the golf tournament. We get 1 or 2 opportunities a year to support teams like golf and rowing. Twin Hills works out really well. You can see several holes from right there around the clubhouse, and so I encourage you to come watch them play. Okay, Stacy, let's do door prizes. I need you 3 ladies to help me hand these out.